Hello, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, my name is Deb Flomberg.
And Deb, how long have you had cyclic vomiting syndrome?
Well, I believe about 7 years, but it took about 7 years to get diagnosed. So I actually only recently got the diagnosis this year.
Okay. And were there other disorders or diseases that you were diagnosed with before you were diagnosed with CVS?
Yes, yeah. So before CVS happened, I actually had pretty severe diverticulosis, which led into diverticulitis. And I had surgery for that. They had to remove 16 inches of my intestine to deal with the infection that I had. And it was shortly after that then that we thought the symptoms would go away because we thought that's what everything was, but they didn't. And I continued to have episodes regularly. So then they thought it was the gallbladder. So I took I mean, it was just this constant testing and trying everything because the symptoms never stopped. And that was back in 2016 when I finally had the surgery. So since then, another 4 years of continually vomiting until we finally figured out this has got to be what it is.
So when you say recently diagnosed, like how long ago, like this in within this past year?
Yeah, it was actually July.
Oh wow. Okay. So very recently diagnosed. Um, Back to the other things that they diagnosed you with, they end up removing your gallbladder?
Yes. Yep, that was removed in January of this year, actually.
Okay. And so you have your diagnosis. Have you been able to find a doctor who is treating you and working with you on a treatment plan?
Yeah, I've been very, very happy finally to find actually a GI specialist that believed me and listened to me and talked to me about everything I was dealing with and did not try to tell me it was in my head. And so she, listened to me and she was like, yeah, no, this is CVS. I mean, then she tested me for a litany of other things just to be sure. But she was like, no, this is what it is, and explained triggers to me. And then I started putting things, into place like, oh, right, no, that does make sense. This is when this is always happening. And so there was this period of aha that I think happened when she finally said, yeah, I do think that's what this is.
Mm-hmm. And can you describe a typical episode for yourself?
Yeah. So for me, it's almost always wakes me up out of a dead sleep, usually early in the morning. Usually starts with kind of a low level, kind of upset tummy, kind of a thing. And then I start like getting weird hiccups and things, and then all of a sudden it just escalates very quickly, very badly, and I start vomiting usually within a couple of hours. And then it doesn't stop. For me, it usually happens 20 to 28 hours or so is about when my cycles hit. So I'm vomiting for about that many, 20 to 28 hours or so every hour, once or twice. Stomach is empty. It's pure acid at that point. Um, Very bad retching. I tend to retch so much between vomits that I lose my voice. I've done some pretty bad damage to my vocal cords. Um, I've had some damage to my esophagus from the constant acid that keeps coming up. Um, so yeah, so in those last usually up to a day and a half. I've heard of people that have it for weeks, and I can't even imagine. Because usually mine wrap up at about a day and a half, and it's always that kind of either I can handle it and I make it through on my own, or we get to a point where after 2 days, if I'm not keeping down liquids, I go to the ER. And then that's when that's the quick hydrate because it's dangerous. But that's usually it's the 2 day call. It's if I haven't kept any liquids down for 2 days, it's get to the ER.
And how often do you usually have episodes?
So mine are on a pretty steady 4 to 5 month rotation. It's almost like clockwork. Every 4 to 5 months, it happens, and coincidentally, it's always when I'm on my cycle. So it's not every cycle. It's every 4 to 5 months, but it's always when I'm on my cycle as well.
And well, with being new to the diagnosis, maybe you don't have, is there anything that you've been able to find to help you abort the episodes?
Um, well, definitely, taking the right abort medication right away, helps, of course. I was before trying to wait so long that before taking it, that it wasn't doing me any good at that point. I would have to get into IV treatments. So understanding that this is what it is, that it's not me just waking up with indigestion. This is me waking up with an episode about to start, and knowing to take my Phenergan immediately has helped me to abort a couple actually this summer.
That's
Yeah,
great.
I'm still kind
That's
of
great.
learning
Yeah.
what this
Well,
how to.
yeah, definitely it's definitely a journey,
Yeah,
learning everything and figuring out what works and what doesn't work.
yeah.
If there was one CVS symptom you could get rid of, what would it be?
For me, it's the retching. I mean, I know that the vomiting is terrible, but at least that's productive, I guess, if that's if that makes any sense. Like there's something happening. But I retch so badly that it sounds like a wild animal is loose in my house. It's so horrible. And God bless my husband for not running out the front door the first time he heard it. Um, but it gets so bad that I lose my voice sometimes for a week at a time. It gets so bad. Um, and so yeah, the retching for me is pretty terrible.
Yeah, I can only imagine. What would you like people who don't understand CVS to know about living with CVS?
Whew. Um, that it's so unpredictable, that so many of us live with this uncertainty. It's like I don't want to miss all those gatherings with my friends. I don't want to say no to those things. I don't want to be a no-show all the time. um, Sorry. Hoping
It's
other people
okay.
did this.
You are not the first. You are
um,
not the first.
but yeah, I don't want to you know I don't want to cancel all the time. It's unpredictable, and we can get triggered by things that by happiness. One of my triggers I learned is excitedness. I ended up in the ER on my honeymoon because I was happy, and spent an entire day losing Disneyland because I was in the hospital the whole time. So yeah, sometimes even the fact that we're happy causes triggers. And so yeah, it's the unpredictability. I think I would love people to know that it's something we can't plan for.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to ask this question, even though you are a newly diagnosed patient. What would you tell a newly diagnosed patient or someone who thinks maybe they have CVS but is hoping to get a diagnosis? What would you tell them? Like, do you have a piece of advice for them?
It's not in your head. I had a doctor look at me in the eyes and tell me I was making it up, and that's crushing to hear. So that's my first thing, is that you're not making it up. There's something real, and um, keep fighting until you find a doctor that listens to you, because when you do, it's pretty great. And then you find someone that has the ability to open up. I mean, I thought I was so alone. I never heard of anyone dealing with this. I had friends that had other issues, friends with Crohn's and friends with colitis and friends with things that are sort of similar, but I've been tested for all of those and every one of them came up negative. And so I felt like I was some weird anomaly. And then as soon as I found the association and I found these help, their Facebook group, and I found other people and I wasn't alone, that was amazing. So I would say to people, yeah, you're not alone. There are a lot of us out there that are struggling with this. So hopefully that can offer some comfort.
Definitely. If you could go back to the beginning of your CVS journey, even though you didn't know you had CVS, of course, at the time, do you have any advice for yourself, maybe how you would maybe have done things differently or maybe not?
I mean, the one thing I would I'm one of those people that would like hate to go to the doctor, and so I'd wait and wait and wait and wait until the last absolute possible second. So in that respect, I would yell at myself and say, "Get help faster." I suffered a lot for a long time because I was afraid of talking to a doctor. So I probably tell that to myself. But other than that, I mean, I think we all kind of have the journey we have to go through. I mean, I went through a lot the past 7 years, but it definitely, it's taught me a lot.
And how do you feel CBS has impacted your life? You talked a little bit about your honeymoon, of course, but what other impacts have you felt going through your journey?
Sure. So, I think like a lot of people, there's the constant canceling plans. It's the constant going somewhere and then ending up in the bathroom for several hours and no one knowing where you are and having to make up excuses, or tugging my husband on the sleeve and saying we have to go now. There's been a lot of that in my life the past few years. So I guess that, I mean, it's still, I'm still learning how it's changed my life. It's definitely caused me now to be more aware of my emotions and more aware of how they can trigger episodes, since they are such a big factor of that. So in that way, it's kind of a blessing in that way, because I'm more aware of myself. I'm more aware of myself and my body, because of that. So there, I guess, maybe some positives there. But it's, other than that, yeah, just the constant canceled plans.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about the association, but did CBSA help you? And if so, how?
CVSA helped me a lot. I once I got the diagnosis, I started Googling, like I'm sure everybody did, and found you guys pretty quickly. And there is so much information in such an easy to understand format that it was like reading about myself for the past 7 years. And it was, like I think I mentioned earlier, it was just this aha moment of, oh my God, that this is me. This is exactly everything I've been dealing with, and reading that it was real, and then all these people, were studying it, and that there was an association behind it, meant a lot. It legitimized how I've been feeling for so long, in a way that even though it didn't take it away. I mean, I still get nauseous all the time, but just knowing that it's not in my head, that it is a real thing, that um, so many other thousands of people also are dealing with, and finding the Facebook group was life changing. I remember sitting there reading through the posts for like an entire day. I just sat there going back and reading post after post after post, and seeing myself in every one of them. And it was life changing. I sat there, I sobbed, and I wanted to reach out and hug every single one of those people and just tell them that I get it. And when someone posts something, like, I remember there was one girl who posted something to the effect of, "I just can't take it anymore, make it stop." And that's all she said. And I was like, I know that. We've all been there. I know that feeling of, I think I'd rather die. We've all kind of been there, when you vomit so much for so long. So having an association and having these people that were there to validate me was huge. So yes, the association helped me quite a bit.
That's awesome. It is, I think validation, especially in a illness that so few people know anything about, is so important. Just makes you feel just a little bit more empowered,
Yeah,
knowing that there's others like you out there.
very much so. Very much so.
If you could only use one word to describe CBS, what would it be?
Ooh, misery.
And Deb, is there anything else that you would like to share with everyone about your CBS story or just about CBS in general?
Um, I would like to just give a shout out to the caretakers. Those people that are holding their wife's hair back. And, my husband's incredible. And he cleans up my vomit buckets and he holds my hair. And I know a lot of people don't have that person in their lives. And I'm so sorry for them, because those of us that do are so incredibly blessed. So thank you to all of those people that are caretakers, because we can't do it without you.
That's a very good point. Thank you for recognizing that.
Definitely.